So that was the discussion at the
But
table, huh?
Republic means you're representing the interests of a whole group of people, just like a United States senator represents the two senators represent one state, right? So with the two senators representing one state, then all the interests in that state can come forward and express themselves to the senator, then the senator will represent them in the Senate.
Mm.
However, with the House of Representatives, the representatives represent little districts. So it's almost as though each representative was if we had a House of Representatives for ISKCON, then all the temple members would get together and lobby what they want. But I think Prabhupada was quite right to just to leave it as a republic. I mean, I'm saying republic, but I don't think that how else could it be defined? I wonder, do you have any ideas? What could you say to define the GBC other than representing a republic? Each GBC is like 12 GBCs, and they represent maybe 30, 40 temples, and they're elected by the temples. So what could we call it? What should we call it?
What did Prabhupada want to call it?
Well, governing body, GBC.
Governing Body Commission, GBC.
Yeah. And he wanted to call it that because that's what Bhaktisiddhanta wanted to call it. And remember, Bhaktisiddhanta is descended from Gaurkishore Das Babaji. Therefore, he was a contrarian. And he said, make it like the same model as the British Indian Railway, the same structural management model. They seem to be running things very nicely. So that's what he wanted them to do. And Prabhupada, again, duplicated that in ISKCON. And again, the GBC, the Gaudiya Math refused to do it. And they wanted to set up their own system with gurus. And ISKCON refused to do it. And guess what? They've set up their own system with gurus. Both completely contrary to the desires of the Acharya. So what I've been emphasizing in the passages we're doing is that this is not made by Prabhupada. It's not made by a Bengali gentleman, Indian. He's not made by even disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta. It is designed in Krishna Loka. Krishna has designed the GVC. If we think otherwise, then we have to really say we don't accept Prabhupada as the bona fide spiritual master. Or we're saying that a bona fide spiritual master doesn't have to amount to much. Right?
Yeah. So anyways, the discussion and what was the conclusion in the discussion that you had?
With Rupa Manjari? Well, we
Yes.
were just going through the different points, and we landed on a sort of like a bird landing on a twig or branch. We came to a stopping point, but there's obviously much more to go.
Hmm.
Did I hear a walrus?
That was Mahaprabhu acting like a walrus.
I knew that face I recognized. It was from the zoo.
Mahaprabhu, the walrus zoo. Okay, so Mahaprabhu wanted to see a video, but Mahaprabhu, you still up for a video? Or is he up for the zoo?
Well, we'd have the video on the Zoom, though. What do you want to see?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, I'd like to see a short video of Srila Prabhupada just to get us warmed up a little bit.
Okay. You can see a wedding video.
Nice.
Okay, let's get
Are
going.
you
This
saying
is
we're not warmed up yet? Check your own temperature, dude. I'm blazing.
You're blazing.
That Vyasa-san there, I built it with my own hands.
Jai. So this is a wedding of Bali Mardan and Miss Toyota, or whatever you want to call her name is.
Oh yeah, I did the whole wedding. I designed everything for the entire wedding.
Oh wow, Jai.
And the amazing thing is, Prabhupada, it was a grand wedding. Bali Mardan was a big shot. It was in New Dwarka in Los Angeles, and I forget who had me do the wedding. I had done it for Hayagriva years before, in 1969, and I did it. I designed everything, and Prabhupada, I sat and watched the whole wedding very carefully, and Prabhupada was extremely serious. You'd never guess that he was taking part in a hoax.
Spread this Krishna consciousness. Parama Anandakam. People will be happy. Our mission is to see Sarve Sukhina Bhavantu. Everyone become happy. We don't want to see that we exploit somebody else and I become happy. No. We want to see everyone happy, but they do not know how to become happy. Therefore, we are trying to spread this Krishna consciousness movement that everyone will be happy.
Yeah.
What did you say, Narayan Prabhu?
No, I said, yeah, everyone will be happy.
Jai.
That's it. We cannot be greedy. We can't think about our own salvation. We're already saved, for God's sake. Now we're saved. That should be the given. Now save others. That should be the...
Of all the world, Jagat-Pita, Krishna, Govinda, that he takes first care. Go Brahmana Hitaya. Go Brahmana. He takes care of the cows and the Brahmanas. Or, in other words, in a human society, if there is no protection of the Brahmana and cow, then it is demonic society. Therefore it is said, Go Brahmana Hitaya. The Brahminical culture must be maintained.
I say don't do it. Don't do it. No marriage.
No more marriage?
No more. Please. It's an illusion.
Okay.
Marriage is an illusion.
Prabhupada would
Maybe
agree with
understand.
you.
It's
Say it again, Rupa.
I said Prabhupada would agree with you.
He would?
Yeah.
yet the
Wow.
illusion of marriage, if you are a great Vedic king, you can bring about Krishna consciousness for the whole population. That's what Lord Ramachandra did. He was married to Sita. So Sita Ram, he brought Krishna consciousness to the entire Ayodhya, his whole kingdom. He created a wonderful thing from each according to his ability to each according to his need. That was known as Ramaraja.
Jai. Mahaprabhu ki jai.
They say that marriage is a wonderful institution if you like to live in an institution.
Well, if you want to be a renounced man, you can be a brahmachari, it means celibate man, maybe getting married, maybe not getting married. You could become a sannyasi, which means a vow of celibacy for the rest of your life. And you could become a householder, get married, have Krishna conscious children, and then do everything you can to spread Krishna consciousness on the societal level.
I think it's all an illusion.
Well, yes, the material body is an illusion of being the self. I'm not the body, so how can it not be an illusion?
So Mahaprabhu, are you getting your answers, or are you just
I'm trying to figure out what marriage really means. What does that mean to be married?
To be married?
Yes.
To produce shelter for family and to create worthy children who will go out and deliver the world with the holy name of Krishna.
And if they don't appreciate that?
Who?
And if they don't appreciate that?
Who? The public or the children?
The children, the wife, the whole family.
Well, if they don't appreciate, then you have not done your astrology right.
So it falls all on me then.
Well, of course, you're a man. Whoever you marry, that's your responsibility. Just like if you buy a horse, that's your responsibility. If you buy a house, a cottage, a chateau, a Rolls Royce, that is all your responsibility. You have to have a reason to do all of it, each thing. If you get a big house just to become a hermit, then that's no good purpose. If you get a big house in order to lead a whole community in Krishna consciousness, then that's a good purpose. But getting back to earth here, us, we don't need marriage right now. We need to, for you, Mahaprabhu, the best thing now is, it's called vanaprastha. You want a nice Vedic word that you don't know what it means? Vanaprastha. That means retired from family life.
How do we do that?
He's living in the forest of his dad's house.
You're doing it.
Not yet.
Well, tomorrow.
Or after tomorrow.
Well, tomorrow's Monday. That's your deadline, no?
So you're going to be living a vanaprastha life, living in the forest of your dad's house.
Yes.
In the backyard.
On the grass. Next
The
to the
doghouse.
cow.
The cow, oh good. But I recommend that when you do go to your house, your dad's house, I'm very serious to suggest this. When you're going in to move in, not when you're going in to move stuff in, but when you're out of your old house, your present house, and you're into your dad's house, the first thing you should do is offer your obeisances with your head on the ground or your whole body on the ground and your hands in front of you, and pray to Namo Om Vishnu Padaya, pray to Lord, pray to Prabhupada. But the main thing you should do is say, I am coming here as a vanaprastha, and I'm coming here to protect my father. So please, Lord Krishna, give me the power to do these two things, and I will spread Krishna consciousness all over the world.
Jai.
Vranapashta.
Vanaprastha, yeah. You know how to
Vanaprastha.
what's the translation of Vanaprastha?
Vanaprastha.
Vana means the forest, I think.
I need to be the Vanaprastha.
Yes, you're the Vanaprastha. Unless you're moving into your dad's place with the maid and the reason your wife's moving out and she caught the two of you together.
Vanaprastha.
Yeah, that's what I think is more likely. Vanaprastha. Is it possible to look that up, or should I look that up?
I'm looking it up right now. 1 second.
Because you know, all of us on this Zoom call, whether we're present on it or just listening in on it, which is very nice. And apparently 8 people were listening in on it last night. We need to give Mahaprabhu our blessing. We need to give him our blessing to be successful at this very important stage of life, which is the stage before complete renunciation.
So here it goes, the Vanaprastha word. Then after retiring from household life, upon accepting the order of Vanaprastha, he undergoes severe penances, living in the forests, dressing with tree bark, not shaving, etc.
The story of my life.
Your dad it may take your dad some time to get used to you showing up in tree bark. What else does it, but what does the words mean, Vanaprastha?
Okay, let me look up the word, Vanaprastha.
Vanaprastha is not necessarily that. Prabhupada described Vanaprastha that you can even go with your wife. You know, your kids are taking care of the business. Your house is under, your grandchildren are being grown up in the house, family house. You and your wife, or you by yourself, you go out and you go to all the holy places. And then when you've gone through that stage and you and your wife are both purified by the process, then you can take sannyas and prepare yourself to preach globally and leave your body gloriously.
So the synonyms that are coming up, Vanaprastha means one who, after the retirement from family life, goes to the forest to learn how to be detached from family life.
Vana means forest.
Yes. Yes.
So what does prastha mean?
Prastha, okay.
Prastha means one who has gone there.
Very. Thank you, Prabhu.
Joy.
So Vanaprastha means one who has gone to the forest, or is going to the forest, it seems.
Yeah, it came from the patha dhatu, so it symbolizes something related to path or place. So path.
Yes.
But Srila Prabhupada didn't. I never heard this dressing in tree bark before tonight. Prabhupada emphasized Vanaprastha means that when you're finished with family life, then go to all the places of pilgrimage. He didn't say anything about going to the forest. Well, you can go, of course.
So maybe because in earlier times, all the paths to the pilgrimages went through the forests. So maybe that's why this word used.
Yes. Joy.
Is that
here-
Mohit?
That is Vinayak, I think. Is it Vinayaka? Yes, that's
Yeah,
Vinayaka.
yes, true.
Wow.
Not
We
me.
thank you for your wisdom and your erudition.
Thank you,
Okay.
Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances.
And please accept mine at your lotus feet.
So here you go. One must go to the forest. Forest means vana, and therefore one has to go to the forest. From the word vana, it is vanaprastha. Prastha means one who has gone. This is the regulated life. One has to take leave from this family and accept vanaprastha. Vanaprastha means prior to accepting the renounced order of life, the husband and wife goes out of home and travels in many holy places to associate with holy men and take his instruction just to prepare for sannyas. So when one is fully equipped in knowledge, then he asks his wife to go home to be taken care of by the elderly children, and he becomes a sannyasi. So there you go.
What's sannyasi?
That's a good question. Who wants to answer that?
What's the meaning of sannyasi?
Oh, can you look up sannyasi?
I can look it up, yes. In the meantime,
Who is
someone can
always
explain it. Yes.
Haribol, who's
Yes.
always chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He's always thinking of Krishna all the time. That's a
Haribol.
very
Is that what sannyas means?
Hare Krishna.
In Sanskrit, is that what the Sanskrit means?
There's no
Prabhupada
quality,
explained.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, go
Prabhupada
ahead.
explained.
Sannyasi.
Prabhupada so if we go by the word, then Prabhupada explained it like sannyasi at sat plus sannyas, taking the shelter of truth. So it also depends upon how some schools of thought regard something as truth, because we consider the supreme absolute truth as Krishna. So Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita that anasakti karma phala sangam sa yogi cha sannyasi. So one who is not attached by his resultant activities of work, he is also a sannyasi. So it regarding the word, it just means the taking shelter of truth or shelter of Krishna.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about a sannyasi is the only thing he owns is a bag, a little bag, for all of his possessions. I challenge ISKCON sannyasis to have one little bag for all their possessions. And they have their tridanda, and the tridanda can never touch the ground. So the sannyasi is standing there holding his tridanda with no place on earth to call his own. That's the symbolism of the tridanda. He's holding the staff of the sannyasi not to help him walk like a Buddhist monk, but to hold it to demonstrate that he has nothing on earth except his tridanda. He has no place on earth to call his own.
So the synonym meaning of sannyasi is a person in the renounced order of life.
But do you get the transliteration from the Sanskrit?
Yeah, this is what it means from the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Well, that's what
Sannyasi.
it means, but the sannyas, what does the syllables mean in Sanskrit?
Oh, you mean the syllables? Okay, maybe someone can explain while I look it up.
Sannyasi.
Renouncers. Okay, let me look it up. 1 second.
Sannyas.
Sannyas means the order, like priest. Sannyasi means the person who has taken sannyas.
The protocol.
There's no protocol. Actually, it's sort of the opposite. You're left with nothing. You have nothing except your bag with your toothbrush and your tridanda, which symbolizes that the tridanda cannot touch the earth. So that means you're not standing on the earth. You know, when a human being stands, his feet are on the earth, his head is in the sky, right, in the air. But the sannyasi, he holds the tridanda, meaning he has no space anywhere, up or down.
And a Tridanda, Mahaprabhu, is a wooden staff that's like full length of your body.
And it's made Tridanda.
Trinanda.
Danda means stick. Tree means three. So it's wrapped in cloth, but it's bamboo inside sticks.
San
What
means
is-
being. Sannyasi. San, S-A-N means being.
Being?
Yes, B-E-I-N-G.
Okay.
Or Prabhupada uses it as being situated in that position. Sannyasi.
No, sannyas is the status. Sannyasi is the person.
Yes.
Well, that's
Right.
exciting.
Sannyasi.
Needless to say, when a person becomes a sannyasi, they should be in the last stages of relinquishing their bodily identification. Because as much as they identify with their bodily identification, as much as they identify with their body, the more awkward it will be to be a sannyasi.
No, that means the more money you'll have in your pocket.
Well, come on, it's only outside of ISKCON. Inside of real ISKCON, sannyasis are austere. Outside
What-
of real ISKCON, they
what-
have Rolls Royces.
What does the sannyasi become?
What does he become?
Yes. What's the next level for sannyasi?
He dies.
A sannyasi dies
Yeah. My brother did.
and he takes on another form.
Who knows what he does?
Hmm.
You know, presumably, yes, he takes another form, another body. What sort of body? Impossible to say. Because it's impossible to say what anyone's next body is going to be. I mean, you could reasonably say that a guy that spends his days walking his dog and adoring his dog and petting his dog and spending all of his money having his dog's hair shampooed is probably going to become a dog. Why? Because that's the object of his meditation. It's like if a guy becomes totally entranced with beautiful women and he's only looking beautiful women here, beautiful women there. He may become a beautiful woman in his next life. Or worse yet, he may become an ugly woman that thinks she's a beautiful woman. But anyhow, do you see what I mean? It's all interactive. Sir Isaac Newton put it succinctly, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So whatever you do, the opposite will occur. If you give in charity, you will get in charity. If you give harm, you will get harm. It's as simple as it gets. It's called karma, or karmic reaction. There's karma. You do karma, you get good reactions. You do good for others, you do very nice pujas for the deity, etc. like that. You go to a higher birth. By karma, you want to live like a drunkard in Las Vegas, you take a lower birth. But if you walk into one of Prabhupada's genuine bona fide temples, you become akarma, or free from new karma. The fan, that's spinning fan, you pull out the plug, and after, as diksha takes root, the fan is slowing down, and in the end, you will not be generating any karma or experiencing past karma. That's the goodness of it all.
Mahaprabhu, is things making sense?
Yeah, where does the sannyasi go?
Oh, if he's sleepy, he goes to bed.
If he needs to go to the bathroom, he goes to the forest.
And if he's awake,
very good. Yes.
Mhm.
Hari bol. Jai.
And he looks for a nice clump of moss that has no bugs in it.
Hare Krishna.
Mahaprabhu, what question you had?
I said, where does the sannyasi go?
After
What's-
what?
What's the sannyasi's next level?
That's a good question.
Where does the sannyasi go from here?
Well, the sannyas stage actually has a couple of different levels. Initially, when someone takes sannyas, she's maintained by the family members who are, living close by, and they provide him food and stuff. As he gradually advances, he becomes more and more renounced and independent, but dependent on Krishna. Independent in a sense from his own family. He becomes more dependent on Krishna's arrangement, and eventually he's totally, dependent on Krishna's mercy.
Yes.
He's dictated by Krishna, the pure devotee.
However, he's guided. That
Guided,
means that indicates that he is beginning to contemplate the Madhyamadikari platform.
Hmm.
You don't have to take sannyas for vanaprastha to become a Madhyamadikari, but you have to have the capacity of separating yourself from what everyone expects you to be doing, which is being Joe this person, Joe that person, whatever, your role is in life, how to go beyond it. But and Prabhupada will describe that the sannyas will often go in the Vedic times, there were very nice forests. So the sannyasi can go into the forest and subsist on fruits, bark, the tasty bark, grasses. I mean, he can subsist on anything that is edible. And on top of that, the sannyasi can be living in this forest, but he will come out when he sees a man milking a cow. And he can stay there without breaking his vow of sannyas. His vow of sannyas allows him to stand there as long as it takes for a man to milk the cow, because then the man will give him a gourd full of milk, and he'll drink the milk, and then he'll leave. But he won't hang out with the guy and swap stories or anything like that. He just waits for the milk, drinks the milk, and leaves. So it's an austere life. However, Srila Prabhupada, and by saying Srila Prabhupada, we include Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they created sannyasis that were meant to be austere while walking amongst women, walking amongst rich people, walking down the street past a Rolex store, walking past restaurants. That's a whole different concept of sannyasi. And ISKCON has had many of them. Not all of them have succeeded. But even if they succeeded for 10 years, 5 years, or even 1 year, that's a miraculous thing. Because as sannyasis, they were not hampered by friendships, by family, by pals. They were only then preaching to life members, wealthy people, to donate land, to donate jewelry, to donate whatever to the deity. So the sannyasis, Prabhupada created these sannyasis, or other Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did, very unrenounced looking sannyasis. They walk down the street with their chadanda in their sannyas saffron cloth, tilak, sika, or Prabhupada put a flag at the back. They walked down the street, but they were preaching. And we still have sannyasis in this ISKCON movement who are still preaching. And insofar as they are austere, that is very nice. insofar as they're living high on the hog, that's not as nice. But if they're not married and they're preaching, something good can be said about them. And that's what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Prabhupada increased. In the Falgun Krishna Panchami, then he talked about his sannyasi godbrothers, Prabhupada did, saying, in the manner of businessmen, you're accepting disciples. Was it businessmen? Something like that? You're accepting disciples.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So that means that they were doing the job, they were doing it right, but they were doing it with a material motive to gain followers, to gain money, to be given presents by their disciples and stuff like that. So that's not the purpose. But in this state of Krishna consciousness coming from Lord Chaitanya, you really don't have to do any austerity. The great austerity is chant loudly wherever you go and make sure that everyone, animals, vegetables, insects, and people, if they're interested, can hear you chanting the holy name. Just deliver everybody. Be generous. Be open-hearted. Be kind. You know, don't think, if I take sannyas or if I chant Hare Krishna, I'm going to go back to Godhead as long as those jerks stay out of my face called my godbrothers. No. That's not the point. We don't have to worry about going back to Godhead. You see, here's the real key, and it's something which I only really encountered strongly recently. And that is, we don't have to worry about going back to Godhead. We don't have to worry about our own deliverance or salvation. Even after Prabhupada is gone, we still have the sound vibration of him emanating from his lotus mouth of the Hare Krishna mantra. Therefore, you don't even need a guru. You don't need anything. Why? Because you're already saved. The Maha Mantra has saved you. Everything that you go to become a Hindu or a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew to have is already there in the Maha Mantra. You have it, now give it. You have it, now give it. You have it, now give it to everyone. Every creature, not every human, sure, every human, every jiva. Make sure every jiva gets this little Christmas present, this little parcel wrapped in gold leaf and gold paper with this nice gold string holding it together. Make sure everyone gets a present from you, a gift. That's a mood of Christmas, sort of went weird, but nonetheless, that's the basic idea. Give a gift. What is that gift? The Maha Mantra. Then, if you give the Maha Mantra, what are you going to do? If you've received the Maha Mantra, what are you going to do? Well, it's not hard to know what to do if you realize it's not for your salvation. You're saved, dude, you idiot, moron. You're saved already by hearing it once. So don't go on and on wondering, when will I go back to Godhead? When will I go to Krishna Loka? Give that up, that whole idea. You don't need it because you will go when you're ready. And just being saved is not ready. When you chant Hare Krishna, deliver the holy, be generous, I'm saying. Be generous, be kind. Why not? Every religion on earth tries to tell us to be kind to others. So what is the kindest thing you can do? Make sure that every jiva hears the Maha Mantra. And if you want to know how will that improve your speed of going back to Godhead, well, just think it through. Be practical. Be a good businessman. The more free samples you give away, the more customers you get. So you'll go back to Godhead very quickly if you are generous. But if you're out for number one, or for you and your family, or you and your ancestors and your family, or your wife and your kids and the dog. If you're out for all of them but nobody else, well, you have to get over that in order to go back to Godhead. The only way to go back to Godhead, you're going to go back. But when? When will you leave this body, or whatever body you're in planet Earth? Are you going to take one more birth, 10 more births, 1,000 more births, 10,000 more births? Really, if you're looking from the spiritual point of view, you laugh your head off at that. One birth, 10,000 births, who cares? I'm going back to Godhead. Why do I care about 10,000 births? Once I'm in Krishna Loka, I look back, I won't even be able to measure my lifetimes from before I became a devotee, what to speak of afterwards, before hearing the holy name or afterwards. Because it's like, boom, like that's, there's no time factor in Krishna Loka. So anyhow, do you like that? This is what I'm begging you all. Please, give away the holy name. Give it away like you have a basket full of goodies and you want everyone to get a goodie, regardless of species.
Jai. So anyone else have any questions or realizations they want to share? Mahaprabhu, Vinayak Prabhu.
Yeah, I have.
Go ahead, Prabhu. Go ahead.
So it's regarding the Sunday Love Feast program that Srila Prabhupada used to have. So I wanted to ask that how many food items and in how much quantity did Prabhupada used to make for his Love Feast programs single-handedly?
Oh, that's interesting. The word love feast came in later. Love feast is actually from a book by Henry Miller, who lived in the coast, Big Sur, the coast of California. And actually, love feast comes from the Bible. That Jesus and remember, he was Jesus was my God, Rupa, what is the religion that Jesus belonged to? The
Essene.
The Essenes, yes, following Hillel. So the Essenes would have love feasts, and that would be all prepared, whatever you had. And in the way the Essenes did it, they would have a big round tray, maybe 6-8 feet across, and they would all lie on their left side in a circle around the tray. And they would turn the tray, and you could get the rice, you could get the beans, you could get all the things. Hillel was a vegetarian, so you got all of these things, yogurt, whatever, just like ISKCON feast. So Hayagriva introduced the word love feast, and Prabhupada loved and very much liked the term. So from that point onward, every Sunday we had a love feast. But the love feast in big size didn't occur until the devotees were doing the cooking. When Prabhupada cooked, he didn't call it a love feast, although it was a love feast, a feast full of love. But he would cook like 3, 4, 5 preparations. And who would he feast? His disciples. And who were they? Maybe 10 people, 20 people. So it wasn't as though it was a gigantic, extravagant thing. But it became that, and we ended up having love feasts at Rath Yatra, where 50,000 people came, and 50,000 people were fed opulent prasadam cooked in ghee. So that was a love feast, for sure. And all these people came marching 7 miles in the rain to the ocean, from the Hirashri up to the ocean. They marched all the way 7 miles. And when they got there, you can believe they were hungry. And when they were hungry, well, they first came in and listened to Prabhupada lecture, or at least some did, because the lecture hall did not hold 50,000 people. It probably held maybe 3,000. But in any event, then there were tubs of prasadam along the beach, on the road. So people came up to the road just before it went off and became sand. And there would be like 20 tubs, barrels, I'm talking like the sort of barrels that merchandise comes in these days, big barrels with a plastic liner. And they would serve people out as much as they could eat to their full satisfaction. And people came. I don't know how many people ended up at the beach, but we started out with around 45, 50,000. We may have ended up with 30,000. But whatever we ended up with, at the end, everybody that was there, and when we brought the feast to the beach, the love feast to the beach, there were people that hadn't marched behind the Jagannath chariots. There were about 10,000 people waiting at the beach for us to show up. It was such a mind-boggling situation. It was amazing. So anyhow, Prabhu, to answer your question as carefully as I can, the word love feast came from the writing of a beatnik poet. Harigrava was a friend of Allen Ginsberg, who was a beatnik and later a V. And Harigrava accepted that term, love feast, and proposed it. Prabhupada accepted it. And from that point onward, every Sunday became a love feast. So how many people? So every temple had their own love feast, you see. Every temple, not just New York. Every temple around the country. We had, when I took initiation, it was about 15 temples, maybe 5 temples, but 60 devotees in the whole movement. So what happened is that every temple would invite people, and on Sunday, students, hippies, citizens, all sorts of people came, and they would chant Hare Krishna, take part in the deity worship. The mridangas and kartals were playing with the kirtan, and then they would sit down on the floor of the temple, and they would be handed plates of love feast.
Right.
I guess Prabhu's question is, Vinayak's Prabhu's question is, what are the specific dishes which Prabhupada used to make specifically on the Sunday feast, which Prabhupada loved a lot and he used to make it personally?
I see. I took it from the wrong angle. Sorry, Prabhu. My apology. I'll give you a very brief account. There would be gulab jamuns, sandesh.
Sandesh. Great. Yeah.
Sandesh. Eggplant sabji, pakoras, sometimes stuffed Kerala, potato dish. What else?
Puri.
Chapatis.
Puris, chapatis and puris, or just puris.
And rice.
Everything cooked in ghee.
Halva.
And Prabhu, like he used to cook single-handedly everything.
No.
Yes. One thing that Prabhupada would cook single-handedly was dal and khichdi.
Haribol Jai.
Like in initial days.
Prabhupada could cook one pot of khichdi and serve 20 people with it without any extreme cooking project going on, you see. But as devotees came in, like Jamuna came in, and she saw Prabhupada cooking and asked, may I help? So Prabhupada gave her to cut vegetables and stuff like that. So as the devotee women, particularly, and Kirtanananda, who thought he was a woman, came in, they came in, and pretty soon they knew how to cook. Now they had to take Brahmin initiation before they could cook. So they were regular devotees, just with diksha, no secrethood. So they would help make all the preparations. But when they got Brahmin initiation, then they would also cook. So it turned into quite an interesting experience. Did that come closer, a little closer to answering your question? I gave you the huge, elaborate answer that wasn't an answer at all.
Yeah, Prabhu. Actually, right now, like because I live alone, so I cook for myself, and it is quite a big deal for me to do because it takes around 1 hour to cook just sabji, roti, and rice. So, but in some conversations, I heard that Prabhupada used to cook in around 40 or 45 minutes. He used to cook these 4 or 5 dishes for a feast of around.
Well, yes, rice doesn't take an hour to cook, more like half an hour. Khichdi is rice and dal put together with vegetables. That's one dish, and it feeds you completely. When I had Parkinson's disease, believe it or not, I ate nothing but khichdi for almost 3 years. But I was not allowed to eat anything like tomatoes or eggplants or potatoes like that. These are nightshade plants.
True, Prabhupada bought his own utensils too, right? To America.
I'm sorry.
Hare Krishna, bro. Prabhu bought his own utensils too, right? To abroad. He bought his own utensils, right?
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
They were Indian pots, the brass ones with hammered on the outside look, and then tin on the inside coating.
He bought his own utensils from India and then he used to cook in them.
Yes. You just go to the marketplace and walk out, you got all the utensils. In half an hour, you have everything.
Okay.
Including a bunch of utensil wallahs running after you, wanting you to buy something more. Prabhupada, he didn't have that problem because people figured the Westerners will always get talked into more stuff,
Yeah. So Prabhu, how much time did Prabhupada took to cook all this, like for 5 or 6 items, like gulab jamun, sandesh, sabji, and everything? Like, because he used to do this single-handedly in initial days. So how much time did it took? Because for a normal guy like me, it will take around 6 to 7 hours to cook all this. So how much time?
But remember, by the time he was adding gulab jamuns, sandesh, and
samosas
like that. No, samosas he would make. But if you have the chapati dough flour or the puri flour out there, you just roll out a puri, put in the stuffing, which you make in advance, and then crimp the edges and put it in the ghee, and you've got a samosa. It's not that complicated. Everything he did extremely efficiently.
Yeah.
He didn't waste a moment. But I will assure you that by the time I became a member, by the time I was initiated, every Sunday in San Francisco, whether Prabhupada was there or not there was a feast for 100 people, 150 people would come. And you sat in a row on either the pots were going down the whole length of the temple, and there would be a little space behind the pots and the servers, like Chumana, and in front. There was like a thing about 3 feet wide and 50 feet long went down the middle of the temple. Then they put all the pots on top of that. So the householders cooked in their own houses. So each householder cooked in a big pot, enough for many people. They cooked for many people. So each householder and husband and wife, they would work together and prepare. Then they'd bring pots to the temple, and it would all be offered to the deity. So altogether, we would have at least 20 dishes at the Sunday feast in San Francisco in 1967, 68. And Prabhupada was not even there. Basically, are we still there? I don't know if anyone's still listening.
Yes.
I vote. Okay.
Go ahead, Haribo. Yes.
Okay, because I'm talking for the benefit of Mohit. Basically, after 1968, Srila Prabhupada very seldom cooked himself.
Haribol, Jai.
when he would cook was for the appearance or disappearance of his spiritual master.
Yes. Yes.
And he would cook one dish, khichdi.
Okay.
There was a, would you like to know about that dish? The khichdi dish he made in 1969 in
Sure.
La Cienega Temple in Los Angeles.
Yes.
He was in the kitchen, and we had like maybe 40 devotees in the temple. It was the disappearance day of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Prabhupada made a pot of khichdi. Not a very big pot of khichdi. You might think maybe 20 people could get a helping. And it was a fast day because it was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's disappearance day. And Prabhupada was in the kitchen. No one was allowed to open the door or go anywhere near him while he was cooking. He was by himself in front. You've seen the picture of Prabhupada standing in front of a little white stove? Probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
That, I think, is the one that he had in Los Angeles, where he cooked that khichdi. But in any event, the khichdi was taken out and offered. Prabhupada did not show up. He was by himself in, mourning his loss of his spiritual master. So the pot of khichdi showed up, and 40 people sat down, and everybody got a scoop. And then everybody got another half scoop. And then it was gone. And it was a fast day, so we hadn't eaten for all day, and this was late afternoon. And you know what happened? We became enchanted. We became bewitched. Everybody started crawling on all fours, basically, toward that essentially empty pot standing on a cloth in the middle of the temple room floor. Everybody crawled towards that pot. And when they got to the pot, everybody looked at each other. We were not looking like greed, I want the rest of what's left in the pot. It wasn't like that. We would reach in with our fingers and take out a few bits of khichdi that was stuck to the side or stuck to the bottom. We'd put it in our mouths and gaze at each other. It was beyond, it was purely transcendental. There was no way to explain it because it wasn't no longer feeding our bodies. It was tasting transcendental mercy generated by Prabhupada through his own hands and cooking in the kitchen by himself and staying by himself. And we all took bits. 40 people crawled up, no conflict. Everybody just crawled up and there was plenty of room. Everybody put their hand in and came up with a crumb. Not 5 crumbs, not 10 crumbs, not a handful, but a crumb. And if there was still left, maybe we got another crumb. But that was the most memorable thing. I had a bit of that prasadam, but it was stolen when I lived on National Boulevard. I put my box in a bad place and somebody stole the box. But I had a bit of that same prasadam.
Mahaprabhu, COVID is gone already. You got to take off the mask.
COVID is gone. It's finished?
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about it no more?
No more.
Fantastic. I'm done.
By your grace, Prabhu, we can
I'm
also relish the taste of that khichdi.
Try.
A little bit, maybe.
Yeah. Well, you can taste it through the sound vibration that I'm offering you.
Yeah, in my mind.
Hari
By the way,
Hari Bol.
just to give you a hint, it was Urdal, not Mungdal.
Urad dal. Jai.
White or yellowish white crumbs.
Jai, so what's next?
More khichdi.
More khichdi.
We need to hear some feminine perspective. Rupa.
Yes.
Come on, bring it on, babe.
Well,
Let us know what's going on. Krishna consciousness.
Rupa, would you like to read anything that you wrote for the website?
Nice. We need some female, we need some Radha perspective.
Haribol.
Haribol, man, we need it.
I can read what we wrote today.
Well, we wrote, but I'm thinking about what you wrote. Didn't you write some other stuff too?
I haven't really written a lot. I've more just been just assembling pieces of the website to like links and stuff like
But
that.
you did have something that you did write. Why not read? Do you still have it? I hope you didn't erase it.
We want to hear from your jiva, Rupa.
Bro, patience. Everything comes with patience. So
We want to hear from the female jiva.
Impossible. Well, sure, all jivas are female,
They're all female?
but Rupa, you didn't erase the part you had written, did you?
No, I didn't
did you?
erase it. It's just it was only like a short paragraph.
Oh, read it.
Okay, hold on.
Enlighten us, Rupa. Enlighten us, please.
What you and I wrote together was like 3 or 4 paragraphs.
we read something from the Canto 10, bro. Ramachandra Prabhu today.
Yeah, we're doing a website to completely explain the League for 10K, meaning that how from King Yudhisthira came to Lord Chaitanya, and he destroyed religion on earth. You could say, well, isn't Krishna consciousness religion? Not really. It's a spirit. It's the end result of religion. End result of religion means liberation, right? Why do you go to religion if you don't want liberation, mukti? You know. But we are offering mukti with the first sound. In fact, you cannot go into a Krishna temple without already being liberated, right? Because you already heard the holy name. Otherwise, why did you go into the temple? So you're already liberated, but then you get in there and they say, well, you have to do this, you have to do that, and now start washing pots and now sweep the floor. And this is your guru over here, sitting over there, you know, not Prabhupada. And so it gets covered up. So Rupa, are you ready?
Yeah, but it's really not much. I just I said it was about the direction of management. I said
Go ahead.
Srila Prabhupada wrote and signed the direction of management document in 1970. Had it witnessed by 3 of his leading disciples. This order specified the election of the GBC every 3 years by the pool of ISKCON temple presidents. This order was never implemented, and the GBC is, as of present, a self-selecting body that rules ISKCON. And then after that was what we wrote today, Narayana.
Well, why not try reading it? See how it
Okay.
floats.
The word of the spiritual master is absolute, and the spoken, what to speak of the written order, is irrefutable. If a disciple is given a direct order by the spiritual master, it must be understood that it is coming from the absolute platform, which indicates that his words are actually Krishna's words and cannot be modified, neglected, nor changed by any mortal person, particularly an initiated disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Should I keep going?
Ask the crowd.
Strict.
Keep
Military.
going. Okay, keep going. One more paragraph.
Whoever neglects or disobeys the spoken, what to speak of written signed order of the spiritual master, has technically violated the terms of his initiation. Such ignorant disobedience may be overlooked by the spiritual master, who may continue to treat the disobedient disciple as though he were still under the shelter of the spiritual master.
Sounds harsh.
Keep
Wow.
going, keep going.
It's harsh.
Yeah,
No,
it
it's-
is.
What is the way it
You
is?
see now, Narayan? That's what I said too. Like it's
Well, it's true.
It's
Yeah.
harsh.
What is the harsh part?
It all sounds harsh.
Meaning?
Meaning,
It doesn't
Yeah.
seem like a Starbucks coffee that Mahaprabhu has.
Huh?
say it again.
Nothing.
Can you consider that what is being said is simply outlining a simple truth? What's the harsh part? Should Rupa keep on reading and then we'll discuss it after she gets through the next
Yes,
couple of
please
paragraphs?
continue reading. Yes.
Stop,
Yes.
stop, please. Hari bol, please.
Okay. Factually, the disciple who disobeys the direct written order of the spiritual master is no longer upholding his absolute vow to the spiritual master, which exists on the absolute platform. Such order signed by both the spiritual master and his disciple eternally exists in the form of a contract between the disciple and Lord Krishna, facilitated by Srila Prabhupada, for the express purpose of creating a brilliantly effective structure that is meant to expand endlessly on the grassroots level without any need for top-down supervision. Because Srila Prabhupada wanted every temple to be individually incorporated, it is clear that each and every temple is legally independent of each and every other temple, even though they are all categorized as ISKCON Inc. By the order of Srila Prabhupada, each temple president will vote for a GBC that will provide temporary but ongoing guidance for the group of temples that the elected GBC members are elected to represent. By so doing, Srila Prabhupada created a republic of ISKCON, just as in the United States, each state elects senators to represent the interests of those states in the United States Senate. This structure is clearly the structure of a republic, and just as US senators are limited to renewable four-year terms, the ISKCON GBC are limited to renewable three-year terms. Srila Prabhupada put forward the idea of republic but not democracy. Democracy would have required each temple member to vote, but for a variety of reasons, he chose to give the temple presidents, however chosen, to represent their congregations, with each temple having one vote. In the fall of 1968, a newspaper reporter in Seattle, Washington, asked Srila Prabhupada if after he was gone, he would create a structure similar to that of the Catholic Church to rule over the temple he had established. Srila Prabhupada responded that his intention was the opposite of a hierarchy, as he wanted the full freedom to exist at the grassroots, ever-expanding individual temple level, without a top-down autocracy that resembled the structure of the Catholic Church. This was at least 2 years prior to his ordering the direction management, which clearly established that ISKCON would be a representative republic, not an autocratic, centralized, authoritarian structure. Had the initial GBC named in the direction of management continued in the mood of endless, rapid expansion of the Hare Krishna explosion, each city in the world by now would have hundreds, if not thousands, of temples. Some of these temples would be as small as a room in a house or a small apartment. Others with substantial community support might have been as dramatically large as the European cathedrals. A number of the original GBCs that had been selected by Srila Prabhupada under nefarious guidance from ISKCON retained corporate lawyers decided that Srila Prabhupada didn't know what he was talking about. They hijacked the GBC into the unelected corporate model rather than Srila Prabhupada's clearly established vision of ISKCON as a representative republic. since the unelected GBC have designated themselves by autocratic vote worthy of selecting supposedly Uttama Adhikari ISKCON gurus, if they were to return to Srila Prabhupada's original model created by Krishna in the spiritual sky for the benefit of all humankind, the Hare Krishna explosion would continue to explode.
Krishna.
So, you find that too harsh?
Mahaprabhu was saying it was too harsh. Mahaprabhu can explain what was harsh about it. Mahaprabhu,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I think it was the vote.
devotee. I say what I say, you say what you say, and if you're right, I will accept it.
Yes, the vocabulary in the beginning sounded very harsh.
What was the harsh part?
I don't know if you reread the beginning, you'll hear it.
Rupa, could you read the beginning part? It was where I think we were talking about the necessity of obedience of the disciple to the spiritual master.
Yeah, just the first or second paragraph. Listen to the wording.
The word of the spiritual master is absolute, and the spoken, what to speak of the written order, is irrefutable. If a disciple, irrefutable. If a disciple is given a direct order by the spiritual master, it must be understood that it is coming from the absolute platform, which indicates that his words are actually Krishna's words and cannot be modified, neglected, nor changed by any mortal person, particularly an initiated disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Is that the part you were talking about?
Yes, Dasi.
And what do you find harsh about it?
It's almost like a command.
It is.
It's either this or nothing.
Well, does that mean harsh?
I think there may be a more Krishna way to approach it.
Well, give us an example. Throw in some words.
I'd have to change the wording.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, I don't know if I can do that right now. That's a
Well,
tall order.
do what you can. You're on the Zoom call. You can write it the way you would write it. Speak it the way you would like to see it written.
I would have to see it in front of me, and I don't have it.
No, the points. How would you say that the disciple must obey the spiritual master, or he will actually lose his spiritual connection with the spiritual master? That's all those words we're saying. How can you say it nicely so it doesn't sound harsh?
Well, it's almost like it's scaring people. It's scaring you.
Scaring
it's either this or that.
Or not do what? What's the scary part? That if you disobey the spiritual master, that it will not be good for you?
If you don't follow the captain's order, the ship will sink. Or most likely you're going to hit the iceberg. So
yeah, that's right. You saw what happened to the Titanic.
Right.
Well,
Haribol.
Yeah,
I'm still learning.
Let's go into the harshness of it. If you say that you have to obey, doesn't the Catholic Church teach the same sort of things?
Yeah, they're very
if you
harsh.
Sin, you will go to hell, right?
They're very harsh.
Well,
maybe harshness is okay if it's going to save you from a cycle of
death and old
death
age.
and
Hare Krishna, Ramachandra Das. Yes, indeed.
Right? I mean,
are you thinking that everything in Krishna consciousness should be sweetness and light and without any consequence?
We need to be beat with a stick 50 times a day, correct?
Our mind. And you don't get beat. You beat your mind.
With your chappals.
You are the guy
your
with the
shoe.
stick,
Prabhu, just
beating your mind.
show a real life example, no? Just show a real life example on screen. Take your shoe and just do it, huh? Prabhu,
What's it? I missed it.
Haribol.
It sounded great, but I missed it.
Hare Krishna.
I'm
What did he
I'm
say?
talking to Mahaprabhu. I'm saying him take the chappal or take a juta and just do it, Prabhu. We all will do it.
Oh yeah.
Can you translate for me, Ramachandra, please?
He's saying that why don't you do that on video?
Do what?
Beat the mind with your shoe and stick.
If I knew how to use this phone, I would.
Use the what?
If I knew how to use this telephone, this cell phone, I would.
There you go.
Oh, but it's
Haribol.
not a shoe and it's not a stick.
What are we beating? The mind or the body?
The mind.
Called mine.
The mind controls the body. Is that correct?
Well, the mind identifies with the body pointlessly. The mind, just let's get it down to a very harsh reality here.
The
That
body is
mind-
nothing. The body is nothing. Is that correct? It's just
No, the body
Matter.
is a big chunk of
matter.
pus, blood, stool, and urine. So many nice things like that. The body
And then
is
there's
made
the
of material,
mind.
made of mud. What? The mind
The
is
mind. The
etheric.
mind is what we've been taught and our upbringing and all that other crazy stuff. Is that correct?
To a certain degree, although everything we tend to be taught in the Western world tends to be based on the body. Do this
And
thing or I'll beat you, you know.
so we have the body, which is really nothing. The mind, which is how it's been influenced.
It's
And then, of
etheric.
course, the jiva, which is everything. And we need to live through the platform of the jiva. Is that correct?
Well, we need to live by being the jiva.
We need to be the
Aham.
spirit.
Yeah. Aham means I am. Doesn't it sound like
Aham.
it? Aham, I am. Aham. Aham, Brahmasmi. Well, Brahmasmi means spirit soul. That means jiva. Aham Brahmasmi means I am spirit soul. A very powerful declaration in Sanskrit.
Do we need to ignore the body and the mind? Ignore them?
Well, no, not the mind, because if the mind is beaten with a shoe, it'll come back to you and you can have a good time using the mind as a means of preaching and discussing transcendental pastimes of Krishna. The mind is very helpful. But let's get back to the basic.
You have to beat it.
Well, until it agrees and until it gets
It wants
to
to. It wants to go its own way.
Yeah, so you beat it. What it doesn't want to go its own way, it wants to attach itself to the body. But imagine the embarrassment. Here you have this body that you're in right now. What if you take a dog body in your next lifetime? The mind will be identifying with the dog body. And then suppose you take a monkey body. Oh, the mind will identify as a monkey. How many births? There's 8,400,000 species, 400,000 of which are human or humanoid. And of those 400,000 species, you can take birth as each one of those species millions of times, depending on what you feel is a good idea.
You can go up or down.
It depends what you do. If you go up, it's called karma. If you go down, it's called vikarma, meaning against goodness. Karma is goodness. So karma means you go higher and higher each birth. Vikarma means you go lower and lower each birth.
What do we need
Akarma
to?
means you're chanting Hare Krishna.
What do we need to do to go higher? Chant?
No, we can't. That's the thing about the Kali Yuga. In this age of Kali, golden age of Kali, there's nothing we can do to go higher. Nothing, zero, zap, nada. You can't go higher. So we have karma, which is higher, right? Takes you higher. Vaikarma, which takes you lower. Because you cannot get good karma, and you are in danger at every step doing vaikarma or bad deeds, you have to settle for the Kanistha Adhikari platform, which teaches you akarma, no karma, neither good nor bad.
Direct to Golok Dham, ticket to Golok Dham, Hari Paul.
Neutral. Neutrality.
Yeah, neutral. But
I was
neutral
saying
means
direct ticket
but
to
what is
Golok.
neutral? You say you insist you want to be the jiva, right? The jiva is akarma, neither good nor bad, but is existing transcendentally. So akarma means transcendental. You know, just to get off track a little bit, but Adam and Eve told by whoever it was that told them, don't eat from that tree, the forbidden fruit from that tree, right? And the fruit was the knowledge of good and evil. Correct?
Correct.
Don't even come at me with apricots or apples. So they were told to not eat of the knowledge of good or the knowledge of evil. So good means good karma, right? Evil means bad karma or akarma. So
Maya.
what is neither good karma nor bad karma? It would have to be akarma, which means they were in the kingdom of God. Akarma means no action and no reaction. You just exist as jiva. So they were
fascinating
as
conversation.
jivas until they were tempted by His Royal Majesty the Serpent. And when they were tempted to relativize their life with good and evil. And guess where they ended up? By choosing good and evil.
Tell us.
Here. They landed where we are. In
On
fact, they
planet
landed
Earth.
where we are before we landed here. According to the Bible, at least. The
What
Bible
about
is
this?
allegorically
What about this
saying
con-
that when you, what was it the Michael with the sword say? Didn't he say, "Go thou, and in the sweat of thy brow shalt thou eat bread"? Right. So he was saying, leave the spiritual kingdom, leave Krishna Loka or Vaikuntha Loka or whatever Loka this is. Leave this Loka and go down and sweat. Take a body, and that body you are going to have to sweat to make bread.
What about this concept of aliens?
We accept people like you.
Aliens.
Yeah, we accept you.
We accept people like you, right?
Why? Did you think you
Oh,
were
boy.
being rejected?
You made me feel like an
You think you were
alien.
being rejected just because, what is it, Hangar 29 or wherever it is? And aliens.
Talk about these aliens.
Of course there's aliens.
Which planet are you from?
There are aliens that fly
Hare
around
Krishna.
the universe in ships
Haribol.
made of flowers. They're called Vimana.
Hare Krishna.
Before we get into aliens, can we consider that Earth is a middle planet? Okay. Can you deal with that? Earth is a middle planet, not heavenly.
A little
not,
one.
This is not hellish. Is it hellish?
A middle one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Middle as in terms of size?
No, in terms of location.
Oh, okay.
It's not at the
Hare
top.
Krishna.
It's not at the bottom. It's in the middle.
Got it.
Got it? What's below? Increasingly hellish planets where you suffer more, enjoy less. And what's above? Heavenly planets, where you gradually enjoy more and suffer less. But all of these are still in the material world. It's good, and evil. Good takes you up to the heavenly planets. Evil takes you. So what about aliens? There's aliens on every single planet. If you define an alien as being someone different than me, and how else could you define an alien except as different than me? Put it this way, all the planets are inhabited. There are no non-inhabited planets in this universe or any other universe. And there are unlimited universes too. There are plenty. For instance, the moon is highly populated. It's a heavenly planet. Mars is highly populated. Venus is highly populated. It's a heavenly planet. The sun planet is heavily populated with kings. It's a heavenly planet. Jivas. Well, jivas don't get burned by fire, do they?
I think they're exempt.
Huh?
They're exempt.
The jivas don't get burned, so they can live on the sun. People keep on saying, the scientists always rake in their big grants from the universities and whatnot when they come up with some really absurd notion about outer space and planets with a tiny bit of truth and largely grotesque ignorance. They are saying life as we know it, because the scientists are always thinking, when can I get on one of Elon Musk's rocket ships and go and live on another planet with life as we know it? But what are you doing? Ashish, what are you up to? You singing or crying or what are you doing?
Vashish is with us?
Not Vashish, I'm sorry.
You said Vashish.
I made a mistake. Vashish would like to be with us, but he doesn't know how. I meant to say Mohit.
Haribol, Jai.
Haribol.
Jai. So
anyhow, but we understand, don't we, Mohit, that every planet is fully populated.
Yeah, of course. So Mahaprabhu is
Hare Krishna.
Is from which planet, Prabhu?
Prabhu, I have a question.
Some beings can travel between planets, and some of them can't.
Very good. So, what do you think? Mahaprabhu is from which planet?
Mars.
Okay. Mars.
M-A-R-S. Mars, the red one.
I would not be surprised.
Yes.
But take into account, Mahaprabhu, that every birth you take, you're taking under the influence of various planets. Not just one, but you're under the influence of all of them. So if you're largely from Mars, that means Mars predominates in your birth, or in your, and you can tell with your astrological chart, sidereal chart.
I am certain that I am from Mars. No question about it.
But also there's Venus, or you wouldn't have gotten married.
Say
and
it
there's
again.
The moon, or you wouldn't eat vegetables.
You have to
and
repeat
the sun,
that. I'm
or
sorry.
you'd be green and slimy like a frog.
I'm from Mars.
You may be. If so,
I know I am. Definitely. No question.
Well, you can find out easily enough. Ask a good astrologer.
I've seen
what
them all.
You might find interesting is get a really good astrological chart done and then go for past life regressions.
I've had it done.
What? Astrology?
Yes, Prabhu.
Oh, is that, who's saying that?
Mahaprabhu.
Okay, but what's it done by a Western or lunar or solar astrology?
I'm not quite sure, but she was right on. She knew it all.
Well, she can. You know, the thing is that the Western astrology deals with the body, and the Eastern astrology deals with the subtle body or the mind.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
The
So-
important thing that is we are here and now. And now
That's part
makes
of
the
it.
difference.
But we're not going to be here now in 2 seconds from now.
We'll be somewhere
We'll be
else.
Slightly somewhere else.
Hare
Prabhu, I
Krishna.
have something to ask.
Go ahead, Prabhu. You go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, just a few days ago, I was listening this story of Bilva Mangal Thakura, in which even after becoming a saintly person in Vrindavana, he was still attracted towards women. And there was a pastime in which
You say
he was
Vilamangal? Vilamangal?
yeah, Bilva Mangal Thakur.
I
So
know this
there
story
was
well.
there was a pastime in which he followed a woman, a very rich merchant's wife, and the woman knew that that man is coming behind her. So she told her husband that that man is coming behind her. But her husband said that what we can do, he is a saintly man, so we all have to do is to serve him. So they served Bilva Mangal Thakur very nicely, and then Bilva Mangal Thakur came to his senses. And out of humility, he asked the women that, "Mother, can you give me your hairpin?" And he took her hairpin and
Two hairpins.
and he pricked his eyes, and later he became very much a pure devotee, and Krishna
Right.
used to serve him milk. So
Yes.
this example,
His name was at that time Bhakti Surdas.
yes, Prabhu. So this example could also be given to the people of people of ISKCON who fell down after, and then they are still going on giving initiations and remaining a guru. So could this example be also used for them, that although like Bilva Mangal Thakur was also behind women, but later he became an Uttamadhikari Vaishnava. So the other person, even in ISKCON, if he does
You
something
don't think
kind of
that,
this.
Prabhu, you don't think we would run out of hat pins? Yeah. Vilamangal Thakur, he actually went to see, he was very sexually enhanced, and he went to see his girlfriend, who was a prostitute basically, and he swam across the river. He was so urgently trying to get to where she was, for reasons which need not be explained, at least not in detail. He wanted to go across the river, and he grabbed a hold of a log because he was afraid of drowning. And it turned out that the log was a snake. And then he grabbed a hold of the snake, and he found out it was a log. And in any way, he finally got to the shore, and he went up to see the prostitute lady, and she chastised him. She had taken on the role of his guru, of his spiritual master, and chastised him and told him to go back. But when he went back, he became infatuated with the beauty of the Brahmin woman. And her husband said that if he wants to have sex with you, there's nothing we can do about it. And that's when he put out his eyes. And that's when he became Bhakti Suridas. And that's when Krishna came as a little child and used to tweak his nose and pull his hair. And as you say, bring him milk. As he was playing on an ektar, one-stringed instrument.
The point here is that
if you're into Krishna consciousness, Krishna won't leave you ever in your lifetime, right?
You want what?
Krishna won't leave you in any situations ever if you have joined Krishna conscious movement. Yeah.
Well, he did. If he had continued on and had a fun time or whatever with the prostitute, Krishna wouldn't have done anything. But when he listened to the prostitute and came back, and then when he saw the Brahmin lady and he couldn't resist her, then he put out his eyes. Krishna saw that as adequate penance, suitable penance. And when he did that, then he would chant Krishna's name while playing the ektor, boing, bing, bing, boing, bing, 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 boing, bing, bing, like that, you know? It's a gourd with a bamboo attached to it with one string. You've seen them in India, they're all over the place.
Yeah. Very well.
Yeah, the instrument was also used by Mirabai.
Banu probably plays one when he chants 64 rounds. I didn't say that. Anyway. So how are we doing? So Mahaprabhu, are you still there?
Mahaprabhu's still there, yes, he's still here.
Yes, sir.
So
Mahaprabhu's
Prabhu,
here.
Because you're still here, I would like to ask you to go over again once we've talked, we've discussed those verses. Do you feel that it's too harsh?
I feel that the wording was a little bit harsh.
How was it?
Almost a little bit scary for a novice.
Well, that's probably good, isn't it? Hell and damnation.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
So Rupa
It's good to be harsh.
Yes.
Rupaji,
Yeah.
sometimes it's harsh.
Rasi.
Even the Bible is harsh at times. So could you try to locate the part that he thought that was harsh, that you agreed was harsh, and read it just to see how it sounds? Maybe it is harsh.
Did it seem harsh to you, Rupa?
She told me
Yes.
that. She told me that when we were writing it. So
It
could you
did?
read it again? I'm trying to figure out how we could make it less harsh. Or write other things that are 10 times more harsh, so it won't seem as harsh when people read it.
Okay, we got about 15 minutes, so.
We want to see you, Rupa.
I know, it's okay.
We haven't seen you in a while.
I'm
Next
shy.
time. Next time.
Yeah, Rupa, can you
Next
find
session.
Can you
Great
find
line.
that harsh part?
Yes, that first sentence is harsh. The first paragraph is harsh. It scares the novice. It's like, oh no.
Well,
There's got to be a sweeter way to say it.
I mean, Prabhupada's books are meant to scare the novice.
Okay. That's a good thing.
Okay, so Rupa, can you read it?
Okay, the word of the spiritual master is absolute, and the spoken, what to speak of the written order, is irrefutable. If a disciple is given a direct order by the spiritual master, it must be understood that it is coming from the absolute platform, which indicates that his words are actually Krishna's words and cannot be modified, neglected, nor changed by any mortal person, particularly an initiated disciple of Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Was that the part you thought was harsh?
Yeah, it's a little bit tough. I think it could scare
I'm
us.
listening to it, but I have a degree in English literature, and I've had to read a lot of harsh authors in my lifetime.
I don't think that is harsh. I think it's pretty normal. If you're Jesus Christ, then some things you might say might be harsh to the public because you're not trying to please their censors or trying to get people on your side. or you don't have a political agenda, right?
Oh, do you think that Jesus was being harsh when he cried out in educated Aramaic language, Eli, Eli,
Hari Bol Jai.
Haribol.
Azavtonu?
Haribol.
Hari
that sound
Hari
harsh?
Hari Bol Jai.
Does that sound, Mahaprabhu, does that sound harsh?
Mhm.
Not at all.
Depending on how you take it.
Well, do you know what it says?
And it depends on your mind, right, Prabhu?
Why
Well,
have
you know
you
what
forsaken me?
Jesus cried out like that. Where was he
Why
when he
have you
cried out, and what
forsaken
was
me?
he saying? Huh?
Why have you forsaken me?
You knew that.
Yes, sir. Haribol.
I didn't know you knew the Aramaic.
Hare Krishna.
You do. Yeah, so
Haribol.
doesn't that sound a little harsh? My Lord. I mean, he's talking about the same God. He's talking in loving terms. He cries out, why hast thou forsaken me?
Hare
That's
Krishna.
pretty damned harsh, I would say. No,
Absolutely.
I'm not trying to justify writing something that you find to be harsh. But when I heard Rupa Manjoy read it the first time, and you said it was harsh, and then the second time, I couldn't find the harsh part.
I think it's okay to be harsh.
Now you changed your mind, Mahaprabhu. You're splitting hairs now. What's going on here?
I'm not changing my mind. I'm just saying it sounded harsh, but maybe harsh is good.
Okay.
Well, what was the
I
harsh
never
part?
said harsh was bad.
No. What is the harsh part?
The harsh part is the command. You
That
must do
command
this.
to take you back.
You
that
must do
command
this or else.
Is the key. If you follow the command and you go back to Godhead, is it worth it?
Of course.
Why not? Yeah.
Jai.
Or would you say, no, I won't follow that command because it's too harsh?
It depends on who you are.
Mahaprabhu.
Well, who are you?
Mahaprabhu is totally confused now, baffled.
I'm with you guys.
Well, we're not with two guys because you and Rupa Manjoy say it's harsh. I don't know
If you really listen to it, it sounds harsh. It's not a sweet way of saying it. I don't think Prabhupada was never harsh. He had a sweetness about it. He had a sweetness about him. You know that better than I do.
He was sometimes harsh, but anyhow, I won't debate that here. Rupa, could you read it one more time, and then Mahaprabhu can rewrite it unharshly?
Okay.
Just listen closely. Listen.
The word of the spiritual master is absolute, and the spoken, what to speak of the written order, is irrefutable.
Irrefutable.
Well,
if a disciple,
would you say it's irrefutable that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west?
Okay, let her read.
If a disciple is given a direct order by the spiritual master, it must be understood that it is coming from the absolute platform, which indicates that his words are actually Krishna's words and cannot be modified, neglected, nor changed by any mortal person, particularly an initiated disciple of Srila Prabhupada.
I think that would scare some devotees.
Well, hopefully, because they're the ones that are disobeying Prabhupada's instructions.
You want to scare them in? You want to scare them into Krishnasness?
I want to inform people that what they've considered to be normal is not only not normal, it is spiritually harmful to them.
Copy that.
See, we're not here at the League for 10K to criticize other people for what they're doing, even though Ramachandra, myself, and everybody else I know can put in a few sly words about the ISKCON initiating what you call them.
Gurus.
No, they're not gurus. They're initiators.
We want to scare them into reality.
Yeah. Something like that.
We got to scare them into not transformational, transcendental.
Well, realistic. I don't care if transcendental or not. How about reality?
It's like a dog. You have to scare them before they learn.
Based on essentially like E equals MC squared. It's based on reality. Okay. Now, the reality, is the reality harsh, or is the way the reality is described harsh?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think anybody knows that one.
Well, take into account that I know the psychology of a lot of these people in ISKCON, and they're not going to just jump up and down for joy, saying, oh, yes, I wish Narayan had said something 20 or 30 years ago. They're not going to do that. They're going to say, we have a system that's worked out by the GBC, that's the way Prabhupada created it. He wanted them to have this, and then the GBC elects the gurus, and they want to be able to carry that whole unsubstantiated mythology along.
So
and
indirectly,
this pretty much is like a nail in the tire of the race car.
So indirectly,
you have to follow the order of the spiritual master. You can't deny, you can't reject it. Is that harsh?
So indirectly, they want to say, be a part of our lynching group or you're killed, right? Or you're gone killed. So indirectly, they want to say, you want to be a part of our lynch group, right? Or you're killed, right?
Yeah, if you want to be a part of this kind, you have to obey all of these things we've concocted and created ourselves in our minds, which to me, I experience as harsh, but that doesn't mean everyone does. What do you got there?
So this is the conclusion of the harshness. I'll read it. This is from PrabhupadaBooks.com, Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 1st Chapter, verse 2. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within the heart.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol Jai.
Hari
Now,
Bol.
in your opinion, Mahaprabhu, does that sound harsh?
Not at all.
That's the truth.
That was too smooth.
Smoothie. Hari Bol.
Smooth. Smooth and positive.
Make me a smoothie, bro. I have not had a smoothie.
Well, I think that there's not much more I can say. I tried to approach what was written as a rational statement, but sometimes rational statements can appear to be harsh, right?
Haribol.
Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. So the fully pure in heart, who's that? You have to find that person.
That's
well,
a tough one.
That's the interesting thing, because Prabhupada is that person, but everybody immediately wanted to switch into how do I become that person even if I'm not that person?
Yeah.
How can I
Point.
appear to be that person?
Point even noted.
So
Yeah.
what we're doing is ripping away the veil, the cloud, the veil of Maya, pulling aside the curtain of Maya so that we can actually see. Wasn't there something with pull aside the curtain of Maya that you could see Krishna face to face? Or was that from that description of how to become Uttamadhikari? But in any event, that's what it is. Put it this way, from the point of view of a pure devotee, everything in the material world is unbelievably harsh. Because a pure devotee is used to loving relationship with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whom he loves with his whole being. And in the material world, everybody's out for number one, meaning out for his body.
Yeah.
All right, Mahaprabhu. I hope all your questions are answered. You have become fully pure in heart.
Okay, we have 1 minute left.
Oh,
Oh, the
So
boss.
Mahaprabhu,
the
if you find that to be harsh, drink some milkshake with it. It will soften the blow of the harshness of it.
unless you're lactose intolerant.
In which case, you have to take one of those crazy keto diet ones or something like that.
All right,
everybody.
So
okay.
So I'd like to thank all the devotees for joining us. We had about 8 participants on Zoom today and about 7 or 8 watching online on our YouTube and Facebook channels. So thank you to all of them. And if you'd like to participate live, you can join our group, which is in the description, in the video description. Just click into it and our links are always posted there. And our sessions are on Wednesdays and Saturdays and Sundays. We start about 7:45, 8 p.m. California time.
Indian time, it's around 8:45 a.m. in the morning.
Okay.
Haribol.
Right. So that's great. And you know what we didn't get to talk about, probably just as well, and let it simmer down a little bit, was the talking about how the ISKCON temple was attacked in Bangladesh.
Yeah, yes.
But they had a altar or a big, like a display for Goddess Kali attached to the temple.
Okay.
And the Muslims were against the Hindus because apparently, either true or false, they had said something against the Quran. And they
So we'll save that for the next Wednesday. Yes.
Yeah. But anyhow, it's interesting, but I would like to say it was
just 1 minute, Haribol,
established. So we should not worship demigods if we do not want to get murdered in our temples.
No, it's completely.
Krishna will protect us Krishna will always protect us in relation to Krishna, but he will not.
Exactly.
He will not always protect us in relationship to the goddess of illusions, Maya Devi.
Okay.
All right.
Good night.
All right.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Bye bye. Haribol.
Goodbye to all the 8 people online that we don't know who they are.